Hey there. So today I want to talk about planning a cross-country road trip and what the hell does that have to do with your business, right? We're talking today about growth strategy and plans of action. So I want to compare a business growth strategy to a cross-country road trip. All right, so bear with me. Let's dive in a little bit. I want you to think about if you were planning an RV trip across the country, right? It's all the rage. It's popular. It's the thing to do is grab an RV and travel across the country. If you're figuring out your starting destination and your end destination, let's say, is California, right? And your starting destination is Florida. You would not put together during this road trip, you would not expect to make it from Florida to California in one day. However, this is what I see all the time with business owners looking for growth. What I mean by this is they are trying to get from point A to point B in an unrealistic amount of time or with an unrealistic plan of action, right? So when you're thinking about your growth strategy, say you're trying to grow your business in whatever that looks like for you. Let's say you're trying to grow from $50,000 in revenue and overall you want to make it to $250,000 in revenue. Okay. You would not expect to go from $50,000 in revenue to $250,000 in revenue in a matter of a couple months, right? It's highly unrealistic. You're going from 0 to 100, and that's one of the biggest issues I see. So if you are feeling like your goals are slightly unattainable or you're feeling stuck with your growth strategy, I want you to think about your intention in your plan the same way you would a cross-country road trip, right? So get out a piece of paper and think about, where am I starting from and where am I trying to go? What is the overall destination? So Florida to California, right? This is our plan. This is our analogy. But what's the first stop? Like, what is our first day of driving? We're going to get in the car. We're going to leave Florida. And where are we going? We are moving in the direction of California. So we're going to go west. That's the direction we're moving. But what would be a realistic first stopping point, right? Would that be Alabama, Louisiana, etc.? I want you to then think about this with your business. So if you're trying to go from 50,000 to 250,000, let's first maybe increase this from 50,000 to 75,000. What do you need to do to get from point A to point B? 50 to 75,000. In whatever time frame that looks like. How many hours do you have? How many weeks? How many months? Is this a quarterly goal? Is this a half-year goal, a 6-month goal? What does that look like? So that's what you want to do. You want to take your overall big picture cross-country road trip and you want to break it down into these first initial stops. When you do this, you can then put an action plan in place that makes it easier for you to actually execute on every single day. The same way when you wake up, if you were on a cross-country road trip, every day when you wake up, you know you're heading in the right direction. You're heading towards California. You're moving in the direction of your end destination, but you also understand that you're not going to get there in one day or 2 days, even for that matter. I hope this makes sense. So think about it from that perspective. When you're thinking about your feeling stuck and are you feeling like, I just don't know how to move in the right direction? Well, figure that out and then break it down. Figure out what is the actual direction you're trying to go. And then what is that first step? The more you can break this down, the easier this is going to be to execute. So if you need to break it down into 10 steps, that's fine. If you need to break it down into 20 steps, that's fine. But figure out what that looks like to actually break down your growth strategy, your growth plan, and break it down into increments that are realistic, that are attainable, and yes, they're a little bit of a reach. They're a little bit of a stretch. Maybe the same way if you were going on this cross-country road trip, could you drive for 2 hours and call it a day? Yeah, but would it push you a little bit more to drive for 10? Yep. Would it push you a little bit more to drive for 16? Absolutely. Is it possible to drive for 16 hours? Do you physically have the strength to do this? Do you physically have the time to do that? Those are the things that you need to be thinking about with your business too. And this analogy might seem a little crazy. You might think, God, Michelle, what are you talking about? But when you really sit down and think about it, I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen. And even if you have to draw a line, just like you would with a cross-country road trip, point A, point B, and then all the stops in between. And then figure out what it takes to get to each individual one of those stops. And each stop allows you to build on to get you to the next stop, right? Each stop is a foundational stopping point that you can then build off of. That's what I want you working on. If you're feeling stuck with your strategy or for growth, if you're feeling stagnant, okay? So think about it. And I want you to answer or comment in this, on this episode and tell me, are you trying to get from Florida to California in one day? I bet you are. So if you are, break it down. That's all I got for you today. I'll talk to you soon.